Fast food fear. I was 8 years old, on holiday with my parents in Australia. I was getting very hungry, so we stopped by a McDonald's by the side of the motorway. We entered, and it was empty apart from one expressionless woman at the counter. We got our food and I ate pretty quickly because I had seen a play area when I entered that was in a separate room to the side. When I got in there was about 12 pairs of children's shoes outside the entrance and one pair of adult shoes, which I thought was strange at the time because each level of the play area was only child height, so an adult would have to crawl around. I went in for about a minute and all the bits of foam were really cold to the touch. They were rustling noises from the level above, so I poked my head up and said hello, which was met with no response. At this point, I was really creeped out, so I ran frantically out of the play area, and when I looked around for my shoes at the entrance, they had gone, along with the adults' shoes. Still haven't found those Skechers. The late night jogger in all white. Hello all. First post in the subreddit, but some amazingly creepy stuff on here. I haven't had too many creepy events in my life, but this one probably works. At the time this happened, I was living in Seattle, somewhat near Ballard. I used to be a very heavy gamer, so I'd be up until 3 to 4 a.m. most nights. One night, I got an unusual craving for some crap food, so I decided to drive over to Ballard's to stop at McDonald's around 3 a.m. On the way over, it was extremely quiet. No cars were seen driving, and several lights seemed to be out, which just adds to the eerie evening. I stopped at a stoplight, and a block to my right is where the McDonald's is located. As soon as I reached the light, where I could see around the building between the light and the McD's, I saw something white in my peripheral vision, which disappeared because of the building between me and the restaurant. I instantly thought, oh, it's just someone jogging. Then when I actually started using my brain, I was wondering why someone would be jogging this early or late. Then I assumed it was my imagination from staring at a computer screen for so long. When I turned the corner and was almost turning into the McDonald's parking lot, I saw on the other end of the parking lot some guy bent over behind a bush, trying to catch his breath or something. He was wearing white shorts, a white t-shirt, white sneakers, and white wristbands. He wore glasses from what I could tell and had brown hair, extremely tall and skinny. As I pulled into the parking lot and made my way to the other side, his side, to get to the drive-thru, he started moving in my direction. When I saw him walking towards me and the McDonald's, I just assumed he was going to go inside to get something. It looked bright enough inside to presume people could still order inside, though I'm not sure if this was the case because no one was there. I was going pretty slow, so I obviously didn't hit the guy, but he was taking a while to cross the parking lot, so I veered to the right, and as I did so, the jogger quit his point A to point B walk and abruptly started walking left to be in front of my car. Once he did this, I then veered to the left, assuming he had a change of plans or something. And when I did that, he cut back to the right and got in front of my car again. By this point, he was directly in front of my headlights, and I could see him better. His glasses were probably 2 inches thick with glass, which at least doubled his eye size, and he had extremely pale skin. His hair looked like it hadn't been washed in a while, but that could have been from him running around. He was staring directly at me, and as he approached my car, I stopped completely at first thinking he was going to ask me something, but as he started walking along the driver's side of my car, he picked up speed, and instinct jumped in, and I immediately locked my door. The jogger comes up to my door and starts jiggling the door handle trying to get in. I look at him, and he has an expressionless face and these huge eyes just looking into my soul. I was in no mood to start something with this crazy guy, and I had a feeling going through the drive-thru wasn't a good idea either, so I started driving forward through the opposite end of the lot to get away. The jogger is still trying to open the door while I'm leaving the parking lot. When I turn the corner out of the lot and start going down the block, he starts pounding on the glass for a short time. Once he realizes that's not going to do anything, and I'm starting to pick up speed, the jogger took his fingers and wedged them between the door and the car frame. I went about 2 blocks with this guy hanging on primarily by his fingertips. I think I got up to 30 miles per hour before his wedging skills failed. I heard him hit the ground and saw him roll for a couple in my rearview mirror, and immediately got to his feet and started to chase my car. I took a left onto the next street so that I could eventually start heading back home. The guy cut through some parking lot that was on the corner and almost caught up to my car. But on the next left, he wasn't fast enough to get to me. It ended with him slowly coming to a halt in the middle of the road. This entire time, not one other person was seen driving, walking the street, in a fast food place or anything. I felt completely alone with some creepy-ass jogger. Since there was no way in hell I was going to try for the drive-thru again, I went to a 7-Eleven closer to where I lived. I had a hoodie on with the hood up and some sweatpants on, and didn't see anyone inside. I started walking inside, and some guy from the back starts yelling, "Hey, you!" I about shit my pants and just stand frozen. The guy comes out, and it was just the 7-Eleven employee. He starts signaling me to take off my hoodie, so I put down my hoodie, got some crab food, and made sure all the doors were locked in my house and blinds were shut. The remaining 4 months I lived in that area, I never saw that jogger again, nor did I venture out past midnight. The weirdo at McDonald's. When I was growing up, my dad and I lived with my grandparents. My parents had me while they were teenagers, and my dad got full custody because he lived with my grandparents, and my mom was just living with some random friends, going from house to house every few weeks. I was the daughter my grandparents never had, and they doted on me. When I was 6, my grandpa passed away from cancer. This story takes place about 5 months after he passed away. This was what I believe was a Saturday, and my dad was at work. My grandma decided to take me to McDonald's for lunch, and like any 6-year-old, I was really excited. So we go to the McDonald's that was about 1.5 miles away from our house, order our lunch, and sit down at a table to eat. At the time, we were the only ones eating inside. About 10 minutes after we sit down, a scraggly-looking man walks in, orders a meal, and sits down at the table diagonally in front of us to the left. The area we lived in was middle and upper middle class, so this guy looked pretty out of place. Grandma had her back to him, but I could see him perfectly. This man was at least in his mid-50s, with really wiry, scraggy, and dirty white hair and beard. He had on blue shorts and a white t-shirt, also kind of dirty, and sandals. It's amazing. This happened 21 years ago, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. So I noticed that under the table, this man had something dark pink and wrinkly on his lap. He kept glancing at me and rubbing it every few seconds. In kindergarten, we learned about stranger danger and good touch, bad touch, and learned which parts of our body people weren't supposed to touch. It clicked in my 6-year-old head that this man was not supposed to have that out like that, nor do what he was doing. I got really queasy and nervous, I didn't want to tell my grandma right then and there because I thought the man would hurt us. If my dad was there, I would have said something because my dad was my hero and could take on anybody. Instead, I put my Happy Meal box in front of my face so my view of this guy would be blocked. I had about half my food left, but I lost my appetite. Grandma asked me if I was full and I just nodded yes. I was and still am very petite, so not finishing a full meal was nothing new for me. She asked me if I wanted to go play in the play area before we left, but I just shook my head and quietly said, "I want to go home." Grandma cleared our table and we left. When we got home, I was still really nervous and I felt like I was going to throw up. Grandma asked me what's the matter, and I started crying and told her about the man at the McDonald's and what I saw. My grandma didn't panic or freak out or get hysterical. She just hugged me and said, "It's all right. Go on to your room and play and I'll take care of it." She wiped my tears, got a blueberry Kool-Aid burst, and told our dog Patches to go to my room with me, which she did. After I was out of earshot, Grandma called the McDonald's and told them about the guy. He was still there. The manager told Grandma he'd take care of it and call her back. An hour later, the manager calls back and tells Grandma that they called the police, who showed up in record time and arrested the guy. When the police told the man to stand up, his franken beans were still hanging out of his shorts. The manager also told Grandma that she could bring me back for a month worth of coupons for free Happy Meals. I have another story about a weirdo that happened a few years later, and this time my dad was there, and believe me, what my dad did to him was not pretty. But that's another story for another time.